everything is energy is one of those cliche, fundamental, universal truth type things that you hear all the time. And I happen to be friends with an electrician who also understands metaphysics pretty deeply. But I also have some clients. One is an electrical engineer, or was an electrical engineer, and his father was a chemical engineer. So between those two, we have like the biochemistry and the, I guess, electrical energy all put together. And so far this is going to sound like overwhelming, like, oh, I'm not going to be able to understand this video, but I guarantee you will. Like, it's surprisingly simple when it's articulated well, but then maybe I can't articulate it well. So I'll start with painting a picture of how sort of the older, more original electric scooters and electric bikes work. And then we're going to, once you understand that picture, then you'll be able to understand the metaphors and everything that I'm going to try to communicate as well. So when you're on those like simplified electric vehicles and you want to go faster or slower, when you've got the throttle to the max, when you're using all of the energy that the battery has, that actually doesn't use any more or less energy than going slower. And when you're going slower, what happens is the battery still outputs the same amount of energy. In the case of this like vehicle that's in my mind, it's like a 12-volt battery. So that 12 volts has got to go somewhere. So all of the energy that you're not using, so say you've got about a quarter throttle, then 3/4 of that energy is just going to a resistor. And all of a resistor essentially does is converts the energy into heat. It's like somewhere for the energy that's not being used to go. And the reason I wanted to paint that picture, hopefully it makes sense, it's pretty simple, right? Like, so the battery can't actually reduce the amount of energy that it's putting out. It puts out a consistent amount of energy, 12 volts. If you're using all of that energy, you're going to go as fast as you possibly can. If you're only using a little bit of that energy, then the battery's still feeding you all of the energy that it has, but it's only going to the resistor and then it's just generating heat. So with that metaphor in mind, I've been thinking about like us and the way that we operate. So if we are putting in 100% in the present moment, applying ourselves completely, that would be similar in this metaphor to full throttle. So none of that energy is being wasted, or none of that energy is even, it's worse than wasted, because that resistor will eventually burn out as well and need replacing in an electrical model. And in our human body, I guess what that would translate to is stress. So all of the energy that is being internalized because it's not flowing naturally through us and being used and utilized, that would probably translate directly to what stress actually is. Like, stress is like trapped energy, and I find that fascinating. So with this metaphor and this picture that I've painted in mind, my invitation to anybody who's still watching is like, try to invest more of your energy into, like, utilize it. Like, don't like, observe yourself and see like how many situations in your life and how many things are going on where you're not allowing the energy to flow through you, and you're not utilizing 100% of your energy to actually take action and flow with life, because you're scared or anxious or depressed, like whatever it is that's keeping you from not utilizing the energy that you have, like where's that energy going? It's going to that resistor, like that metaphorical resistor inside of you, which is like it's trapping that energy and creating stress and eventually all kinds of other issues. And I've been contemplating this kind of stuff for a while, but it became really obvious to me yesterday because I was observing myself not allowing any energy to flow. Like I was just totally it was all going towards resistance, and that's what triggered off this whole like epiphany type thing that's going on right now, because all of these insights, I've had them before, but then they all came together. Yeah, because it was all going into this resistance because I didn't want to act on what I was feeling, and I became aware of it, and then I started to articulate it in that moment. Like it was like doing a video journal, like right now, like this live, like just outpouring of thoughts and feelings in the present moment, but without the camera, just like with other human consciousness present. And yeah, just learned so much about myself, like I always do when I'm in this process. And it was important for me as well because in the past, when I've experienced the feeling that comes with doing what I'm describing, so in the past when I've like I've like blocked myself and just not allowed myself to take action towards like the future, like whatever that may be, and I'm just internalizing all this energy and it's just turning into stress because I'm not taking action. I mistakenly believed that the thing in front of me was really stressful. Now this is fucking huge. Like if for somehow all these dots connect for somebody watching this, like for me it's huge, for you hopefully something. So yeah, that experience, and you're feeling all of this stress inside of you when you're looking at this thing that's in front of you, this possibility. You think that possibility is stressful, but the possibility isn't stressful. What is stressful is your resistance to the possibility. Ooh, the possibility isn't stressful. It's not like this really cool thing that could potentially happen is overwhelming. Like, it's actually your resistance to it that you're holding on to and staying stuck in that moment, and all of the energy that should be flowing to allow you to step into this possibility and enjoy it and like embody all of this amazing new potential. Like it's just all going nowhere. Like it's not going nowhere, it's going inside of you. It's creating stress. And like, so like to be in that moment, become aware of it, be able to articulate it, because when I'm able to articulate it, it becomes something that I can actually draw from in the future. Like it becomes a memory, because I remember the words that I said. I remembered how I described it. And with that memory of how I described it, I can kind of recall that knowledge in a form that makes sense to my rational, conscious thinking brain. Which then all of the deeper stuff kind of follows it. Like it's like these little bookmarks. Like if I can actually articulate an experience in the present moment, I've like bookmarked everything that's connected to that in that moment, and I can kind of access what I learned in that moment and then apply it in the future. And even like it's almost like what I just said is irrelevant, because once I've actually articulated something, it's like it's encoded. Like, okay, I've got that piece now. If I'm able to articulate it, it means I'm embodying it. Like it means that I've fully got it, because you wouldn't be able to articulate it if you couldn't first fully understand what you're experiencing on any level first. Like I feel like articulation is the last step to fully comprehending what's happening inside of you. So, but in saying that, what came to mind is like sometimes I'm articulating stuff and it's like incomplete thoughts and there's missing pieces of the puzzle and all of that. So I guess that's stuff that I'm not able to articulate yet because I haven't fully embodied the understanding of it yet, or I haven't reached my conclusions, like whatever. But the big takeaway for the video, I'm going to come back and I'm going to circle back around just in case like it didn't land the first time. The possibility that's in front of you, the potential that you could be stepping into is so fucking exciting. And when you're holding yourself back from that, it's not the possibility that's stressful, it's your resistance to the possibility. It's the fact that you're staying where you are when you know you want to be doing something incredible. Like, that is the most stressful experience that a human being can have. It might not be true, but like, it is intense. It's so much more intense than like I've ever appreciated before. And that's why I'm being so over dramatic about it, because I'm like, whoa, like, and after I articulated it, I stopped doing it. like very quickly after that, like it took an hour before like the energy stopped flowing into that resistance and it started flowing into like actually being in that moment and like going for the experience and having the possibility like more fully than I've ever allowed myself to go with a moment, you know, like just that unlock. That's what I want to share. That's what I want people to experience. But I can't like give anybody anything. I can't really share my understanding. I can only share these stories and these thoughts and feelings as they emerge within me, and then people have their own little aha moments, and then, you know, you might have a totally like profound experience that then you would really like to communicate to me, and then I'm not going to understand what you're saying. Like, I love reality. I love interrelating and communicating and observing oneself and each other. Everything's gone really well, and I'm having a lot of these kinds of breakthrough moments and experiences. I've definitely resolved a bunch of the stuff that I have expressed in recent journals, where I was like clearly approaching burnout because I was taking on too much, and my periods of contentment are extending. And what I mean by that is I've had this pattern where I do a whole bunch of crazy stuff or a whole bunch of positive stuff, and then I reach this place of contentment where I'm like, everything is great, this is exactly how I want things to be. And then, you know, it might be a week, it might be a month, it might be 3 months, and then I'm looking at my life again, wanting to shake things up. Like, I'm not able to just be happy with how things are unfolding. But that's less and less the case now. I'm getting to a point where I'm just happy where I am. It's like this balance between like, I'm content but I'm not complacent. Like, I'm very happy in the present moment, very at peace, but I'm still striving towards more progress and more growth and evolution. But like, it's not like I'm desperate to get anywhere or desperate to do any particular thing, which is another piece that goes along with this whole stepping into your possibility instead of resisting it. Because on the other side of the coin of resistance is like that, the opposite of resistance, like this desperation, like I need this to happen, and you go into your ego and you're like, I need to create this experience, and that also creates stress because it's really just another form of resistance, isn't it? Because you're not resisting taking action towards the possibility. You're not in that freeze mode. It's more like you're in that fight mode, like I've got to fight for this possibility, but you're still in resistance to what is. You're in resistance to reality in the present moment. Reality saying like, here's what's available, step into it. And ego comes in and goes like, I've got to make this thing happen. I've got to shape it into the picture that I have in my imagination. And that creates just as much stress inside of me, I feel. But I got sort of done with that, and earlier in the journey. I feel like I've done a lot more of that earlier, And then recently I've started to identify this other form of resistance, which is like coming up to the possibility that's just like so brilliant and like so enriching and rewarding, and yeah, just being like, oh, like what do I do? And yeah, having resistance to stepping into it, thinking that the possibility is stressful and like it's too much for me, but what's too much for me is not stepping into it. I've said that so many times in this video, like in so many different ways, but it's just so important to me right now. It's not the possibility that's stressful, it's your resistance to the possibility. Hopefully this made sense. I know I started it off with a lot of, you know, scientific type jargon about electrical engineering or something, but it's all part of the fun, isn't it? And who knows, you might be an electrical engineer, like this one person that watches this video, and that's what makes these dots connect, and that's what sets you off on this crazy positive journey, and then maybe you'll be the one to make it make sense in other ways. I don't know. Subscribe to the channel if you want to see more totally unpredictable content where I'm just expressing what I'm thinking and feeling in the present moment. Leave your comments down below if you are having insights live as well while you're witnessing me learn about myself. Click the like button for me. That's the one that feels the weirdest, isn't it? There's a little button on your screen. Press on that and it will be good. And check out my website. I added and subtracted a little bit, like rewrote some things. I need to update it like more deeply soon-ish. That's nearly setting me off on a whole nother tangent, but I'll just leave it here, hey? I'll see you again next time.